I've seen enough. The Democrats will lose the 2028 presidential election, which is also their last presidential election before the electoral math gets even more challenging for them. Here's part one of a three-part series showing why. Democrats are hemorrhaging voters. Fundamentally, all states that track voter registration by partisanship, which often lags behind actual vote and realignment decisions, trended Republican in 2024, and that continued in 2025, the first year of the second Trump administration. Even in New York City's 5 boroughs, from 2020 to 2024, 4 out of 5 boroughs saw Republicans gaining ground on Democrats rather than losing ground, and actual vote outcomes trended Republican in all 5 of those boroughs during that time. These trends also saw just as many, if not more, voters in various states become independents. But the commonality between them, D to R or D to I, is that they're leaving the Democratic Party or deciding it's not right for them in the first place. Special elections and midterm election dooming aside, there is absolutely zero objective evidence for the long-term Democrat momentum. Why? The Democrats have a brand, message, and authenticity issue. Democrats today are thought of as woke and weak, and they are defined by being anti-MAGA. Despite having nearly all the historic and elite institutions on their side, they have been unsuccessful at getting Trump for over a decade now, and unsuccessful at convincing a critical mass of American citizens to come to their side. Historically, the most successful Democrats actually have offered hope. They have offered optimism. They have been happy warriors. Kamala's attempt at joy was actually the right impulse. She's just not an authentic or believable messenger of joy. And neither are the Democrats today. They come off as fake in their political personas, and often down to the interpersonal relationships they have with other Americans. And that's why real Donald Trump beats fake insert Democrat, whether it's presidential election loser Hillary Clinton.
I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from.
Whether it's once and future presidential election loser Kamala Harris.
You better thank a union member for the 5-day work week. You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
Whether it's future presidential loser Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or her Please Be Our 21st Century FDR nickname, AOC.
I'm proud to be a bartender. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
But now let's pick on the men too. Here's third world wannabe aristocrat, Zohran Mamdani, who clearly had his first life experience with manual labor recently. Mamdani, one of the many casualties of Hollywood's celebrity and acting recession, won just enough votes from transplants and foreigners to install theater kid communist government with his latest role.
I'm from Uganda, but I also grew up in New York. In New York, you don't really, you go out, some guys are very hesitant to dance. If they're not grinding, they're just standing. In Kampala, you will just not find that.
But Troy, it's called code switching, they'll say. You didn't get the memo. Well, how about when one of the 12 remaining white guys in the Democrat Party do it? How does that look? Here's Beto O'Rourke, a man just born to be in it. He showcased similar moments throughout his 2020 presidential campaign. Here he is trying to play the role of Robert F. Kennedy. After that loss, the live streaming of his teeth cleaning didn't do him any favors either.
So I'm here at the dentist.
Gavin Newsom's attempt to be the next white savior will end similarly. For he gives New York City's inadequate and reckless homeless policies and outcomes a run for their money, if not outright surpassing them. Democrats will try to argue out of this inauthentic manner by arguing that diversity is their strength and unity is their power. And this is incredibly dangerous for the American constitutional order. The Democrats today face a state of oblivion, which is why you see them so willing to test the bounds of lawlessness on the streets over ICE and mass deportations of illegals. So what is the Democrat model that maybe still works? Lying to the voters and pretending to be more moderate than you actually are, of course. And that is what we just saw in off-cycle elections in pretty blue states, New Jersey and Virginia, especially in Virginia. And we're already seeing how dishonest the so-called moderate Democrat actually is there. But we already saw this with Joe Biden in 2020. He was optically and on the issues the most moderate Democrat in the field then. Pictures with firefighters, stories about Scranton. How bad could Scranton Joe be, enough voters said? Or did they? Because just like when liberal journalist Andrea Mitchell casually admitted with glee that the 1960 election had been stolen.
How have we come to this point? Some of the better moments in American history, the peaceful transfer of power, Richard Nixon not challenging, that
Kennedy in 1960,
had stolen the election in 1960, which, obviously had been stolen in 1960.
And just like this week, when the New York Times casually admitted that Nixon was essentially set up with Watergate, there will come a day in the 2050s or 2060s when a liberal journalist casually admits the same about the 2020 election, that even Scranton Joe, the so-called moderate Joe, didn't win either. This has been part one of 3 parts in why the Democrats are cooked in 2028. I'm Troy Olson, Army veteran and co-author of the Emerging Populist Majority and Sergeant-at-Arms of the New York Young Republican Club. This has been the first feature for CityCon of civilization itself.